Welcome to Learning Music with Pat. Last week we started learning the symbols of music because it's a lot more to music than just learning notes and how long to hold them. There are a lot of other symbols, and as you know, music is a language, and you read that language as if you had an alphabet, and you do that by learning the symbols. So last week we went through a series of things: introductions, grace notes, trills, staccato notes, fermatas, which are holds, setting time, dotted notes, holds and slurs, repeat marks, and phrases. Today I'm going to start again with phrases because we really didn't have a whole lot of time to deal with it. So I'll start with that. We are continuing this week with what I didn't finish last week. Now a phrase is usually, and I'm going to point this out as we go, a phrase is usually 4 measures, and it's 4 measures of notes that belong together, like there's a melody line, and then you have it 4 measures, 4 measures, 4 measures. A lot of music is written this way: 4 measures followed by 4 measures. Each phrase is like a self-contained unit. It's a part of the music, but you wouldn't want to separate it. So as an example, I'm going to be playing. You can watch along here. I have my own copy of the music. So let's see if we can discover what a phrase really is. Now, this song was composed of several phrases. You have the first phrase ending here, then another phrase starting here and ending here, and then you have another phrase ending here, and then you have another phrase. So all of these phrases combine to make for one note. And I'm going to have to pick up this, I'm sorry, but I have to pick up this instrument that just fell off, because that's the main instrument I'm using today. Sorry about that. So that's what phrases are. And as you are a player and you have seen and you know how to play the instrument, you'll notice that there are a number of Ds in this music. This D, we're not talking about the lower Ds like this one, but just the higher Ds. This one, this one, this one. Those Ds I'm using an alternate fingering on. Most Ds are played like this, but I played it like this. Now the reason that I did that is that the way that the music is written, and I wrote this, it is kind of inconvenient to always use the correct fingering, so sometimes we'll use an alternate fingering, and I happen to finger the D like this. The tone is about the same, but it's easier to play it. And you will find that a lot of instruments have alternate fingerings, and that's what I used for this. So let's go on to the next page. What I'm going to talk to you in the next page is something called a stinger. A stinger is a staccato note at the very end of a piece of music, and it ends the music. This is usually seen in march music. What I am going to be playing, let me point out the stinger. It's right here. I wrote it on the bottom. Normally it wouldn't be written out, but this is a staccato note at the end of the piece. Now, this piece is called Major Fairbanks, and I want to mention Major Fairbanks. It's an actual march. It isn't something I made up. Major Fairbanks was a major in the Army during, I believe, World War I, a very beloved soldier. And this music is a part of a march. It's not the whole march. It's just a part of a march. Written in honor of Major Fairbanks, and it was written by my great-grandfather. It was written by Joseph Rainey. He was a person who had an orchestra. He was a conductor. He was a composer. He wrote Major Fairbanks. So what I've decided to do is just take a part of that and play it. I'm playing the chorus of it, and then you will see at the end I play the stinger, and you can follow along here as I'm playing on my own music. That last note. Let me play just the last two measures here. That last staccato note, it's usually an eighth note or a quarter note. It has a staccato dot over it. We discussed that last week. That's the stinger. And it ends march music. You don't get it in much else except march music, but march music is very nice. I love to play it. And at some point, I'm going to play that whole march that my grandfather wrote. Okay, next page. Now we're going on into triplets, and let me explain to you what triplets are. It's 3 notes to 1 beat. So this is 1 beat, this is 2 beats. If you look at the key signature, this is written in 2/4. This is 1 beat, 3 notes to that 1 beat, and this is the second note. The 3 beats, the triplets, the second note. The 3 beats, and then I've changed some of the notes, but you will always find that with the triplets, you have the 3 notes. Underneath them or on top of them will be that number 3, and then you have that little curved line below or above, and you know you've got 3 beats to the note. So I'm going to go ahead and play this, and you can be watching this as I do that, just to get you to know what triplets are. Let me play that again. Remember, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and you would be counting this because it goes fairly fast. 1, 2 measures to beats to a measure. Now this could have been written in other ways. I could have written this in 6/8 time, in which case I would have 6/8 notes. 1, 2, 3, they each would be a beat because they are eighth notes. The reason I know that is that we drew the line. When you get that one flag, you get an eighth note. And this would be dotted. If I dotted it, that would be 3 beats if we're in 6/8 time, because this would be 2 beats, and the dot, if it were there, would add a beat to it. So I could play it in 6/8 time and get exactly the same sound, the same speed, the same song as I would by doing it in 2/4. The advantage of doing it in 2/4 is that I had a chance to show you what triplets are. It can get more complicated than this. You can get notes that are called 3-on-2. I haven't written any out. It's a little bit more complicated, but when you get 3-on-2, you play 3 notes to 2 beats, and you just kind of squeeze it in. But I don't really want to get into that except to tell you what it is. So let us look at the next page. Slash marks. Let me turn this so I have the same thing as you do. This is not a song. I'm not going to be playing it, but notice at the end you have slash marks. When you have a slash mark, usually you get 2 of it. It means stop abruptly. So if I'm not going to play the whole thing. As I said, it's not a song, but if I'm going to play that high D, I just stop it quickly. And I will be playing this, and there are slash marks here. There are also straight lines. Let me explain what these marks are. When you have a mark that's just like a horizontal mark on top of a note. That means you emphasize that note. You don't necessarily have to play it louder, but you have to accentuate it. And every note that has that is accentuated. And then, of course, at the end, I did put in the slash marks, which means you stop that abruptly. So I'm going to play this bottom piece, and you can be watching this as I do so. Now, when I played that, I did accentuate those. I didn't make them much louder, but accentuate those notes that have that line on it. It just means you kind of give them an extra punch. You don't slide through them. And when you get that slash mark on the end, you abruptly stop on time. You get that a lot with faster music. With slower music, you might have a tendency to linger a little. It's the way the music would be interpreted. But when you get something like that, you immediately stop it. When the note is over, it's immediately stopped. So let's go to the next page. We are going now into dynamics. And dynamics is the expression of music. Loud, soft. Fast, slow, the way that you interpret music. So let's look at some of the symbols here. Let's look at the bottom of the page. You see that you start off with a point and one line goes above, and gradually the distance between the two lines change and it gets wider. You gradually get louder. If you look at the top of the page, you start with a point, and then you gradually increase the width of the two lines. That's soft, gradually going to loud. If you start wide with these two lines and they gradually come to a point, this is loud, gradually going soft. And that's the way music, look again at the bottom of the page, gradually louder, loud, gradually softer, loud, gradually softer. And this is somewhat loud, gradually softer. Now we need to know what these symbols, P, PP, PPP, and the F, double F, triple F means. P stands for piano, that's soft. If you see a P on a piece of music, then you know that it's soft. I have down here on the bottom, you have two double Ps. That means it's quite soft. And then at the bottom on the right-hand side, you have three Ps. That's very soft. So P stands for piano, and the original word is pianissimo. Pianissimo means soft. If you have an F, and I have three Fs here, the Fs mean loud. This is loud. This is even louder, and this is quite loud. Usually you don't go above three Fs, but it's emphasized, loud, loud, loud. It's like loud, louder, and loudest. This is very loud, and the word that it comes from is fortissimo. So pianissimo, fortissimo, soft, quite loud. You sometimes also can use a CRESC on music, write it out, that stands for crescendo, gradually getting louder. It actually does about the same thing as this does. It gets gradually louder. Or decrescendo means that you're gradually getting softer. And I should mention there is a word that you run into occasionally. It's called poco a poco. That means a little bit at a time. Poco is small. Small bits. Small increases, gradually getting louder, gradually getting softer, poco a poco. I don't really have it written here, but that you get that on music. So I am actually going to play this, just the lower line, so you can see what it is like. I'm going to use the expression getting loud and getting soft. I got louder some parts, I got softer some parts. Let me try that again. Now, a lot of people, when they play notes, they just play notes. They don't put any expression into it. They don't get louder. They don't get softer. They don't get faster. They don't get slower. They don't express themselves. They just play notes. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's boring. So in order to really have musical expression in music, you have to be aware of dynamics and expression. And you do that by going loud, by soft, and you can write it in the way that you want it. And so that is an explanation of some of the dynamics of music. Now, if you want to go faster, we will turn the page once again. That word accelerando, sometimes abbreviated ACCEL, that means go faster gradually. If you're going faster and you're at a certain speed and you want to reduce the speed to what it was before, say you started out a piece and it wasn't too fast and you gradually got it faster and now you want it back to what the original speed was, you can read this. No, this will be written in the music. A tempo. A tempo means going back to what the speed originally was. If it was slow, you go back. Now, if you start off very fast and you gradually get slower, a tempo would mean go back to the fast speed. It can be either way. A tempo, go back to the original speed. Accelerando, accelerate, go faster. Now, retard, R-I-T-A-R-D, usually written R-I-T, just R-I-T, it's an abbreviation. That means slow the music down. Normally, when you're playing, you play the higher notes louder than the lower notes, and then gradually, if you go to the lower notes, you get soft again, but that's not a given. And on the other piece that I did not write it that way, but that's common to write it that way. And so I'm going to play this piece showing the retard. Now, you get some of the slashes here to emphasize those notes, and here's the retard. I've written it twice. I start slowing down, and instead of going lower in pitch or lower in sound, I bring it up to make it a little bit louder, and then the slash means stop it immediately. So what I'm trying to do now is combine some of those symbols so you can see how it's written in the music. I'm going to play this piece right here. I'll get down to this later. This is not a song. I won't be playing it. I just threw some notes in there to show you something. So for the middle of the piece, showing the retard. Let me try that again. So I changed the speed. I made it slower when I saw that R-I-T, that retard, that means play it slower. But I also played it louder. And a lot of music, when you start to play it slower, at the end of the piece, you also play it softer. But it's all up to what you want if you're writing the music. It's all up to what the composer wants if he's writing the music. Now, here we have accent marks. They look like little carrots like you get on a computer. That means you really punch those out. This is not a song, but I'm going to just show you an example of that and play a few of those. And also you get a little apostrophe. That little apostrophe just happens to be a breath mark. When you see it, that would be a place when you would normally breathe. So let me just play a few of these accented notes. When you see that little carrot, you really accent the notes instead of. the time that I did it, the second time, I accented it. I added more air to it, which raised the pitch a little bit. On some instruments, especially the recorder, you add some air and it tends to raise the pitch. Okay, let's do the next one. Rest. Let me go ahead and discuss rest. You mark them just like you mark regular notes. Once I get the page right here. Here we go. Just like you have whole notes, half notes, you can have, and quarter notes, eighth notes, and so forth, you can have rests of the same denomination. A whole rest hangs down from that fourth line. That fourth line is a D. And but it hangs down what would normally be a D. It's worth 4 beats. The way to easily remember it is that it hangs down because it's heavy, it's worth more, and you actually count it for 4 beats. A 2-beat rest is up on the third line. The third line, if there was a note there, would be a B, but you add that little square above it, the easy way to remember it. You don't count it as long, it's lighter, it sticks up. So 4 beats rest, 2 beats rest, then you have a quarter note rest, an eighth note rest, 16th, 32nd, 64th. You can have the range of rest the same as you do for the notes. And you can also dot them. Now, I spent some time showing you that if you dot a whole note, it becomes 6 beats instead of 4. You can do the same thing with rest. Here is your whole beat rest. I put a dot beside it, so instead of having it be 4 beats, it is now 6 beats. We've talked a lot about dotted halves. You find a lot of them in music. And here you have a half beat rest. It's 2 beats, but you add the dot, it becomes 3 beats, because anytime you add a dot to music, you increase its value to half the value of what the original note or rest was. You can have dotted single rest, quarter rest, dotted eighth rest. You don't see this very often. I bring it up because occasionally you will see it, but you don't see it very often. It would be just as easy to put these two together to make 6 beats, or to change the time signature. But you can dot just like you dot the notes. Now let me go on the next page. I want to show you this. These are chromatics, and these are octaves. I've said before that if you sharpen or if you flatten a note, not only is that note sharped or flattened, but all of the octaves to that note, octaves above and octaves below, are also sharped and flattened. So this is a C, if you can note that, then it's a C sharp. So the octave above is also sharp, and the octave above is also sharp. You have 3 octaves here, and they're all sharped. And the same, now when you get here, it goes to 2 notes. You go 1 octave up or 1 octave below, and the markings are the same. You flat one, you flat the other. And so that I wanted you to see what it looks like to have all of these notes flatted and sharped, all the octaves flatted and sharped. So let's turn the page. I'm getting a little low on time, but I'm going to go through this. This is a cadenza. They're beautiful to look at. They're beautiful to listen to. They're fun to play. And these are a group of notes where you just interpret them. They're usually in the middle of a piece that you're already playing, and you take off and just interpret the music just the way you want to. The difference between improvisation and playing a cadenza is that in a cadenza, the notes are already written out, and those are the notes that you're actually going to play. You start off with a hold. These are the symbols we already learned. And this is F. You're going to play it loud. This is 8th, 16th, and 32nd. So you whiz right up there, but you can play it slower if you want to. It's interpreted in any way that you want. Another hold. This is sharped. And then this is a really quick rest. Another hold. You get down here, the timing is different, and you notice this hold is on that double line that separates the parts of the music. So if they didn't put it on this rest, it's like there's a division there, and you take your time with that, and when you're ready, you start again. The hold, this is piano, so you're playing it soft, and this is another hold, and you whiz down here. Those notes go pretty fast, but you can play them any way you want, and then you go through the rest of it, okay? A poco retard, gradually slowing down. Remember, poco a poco, little by little. So when it says poco retard, you slow down gradually, little by little, and end this note very soft because there's a double P. Now, I know this seems like a lot of information, but it'll be helpful for you just to recognize it, because if you are playing something like this, you can interpret it any way you want. There are no bar lines here. You can play it fast or slow, and it can be just as nice as you want it to be. If you were to just improvise, there would be nothing written down. You'd just play whatever you wanted to play, but you wouldn't find that inside of a piece. These notes are expected to be played in a cadenza, but you have the right to interpret it any way you want. And they usually, as I said, very, very beautiful. And very difficult to play. You have to be pretty much an advanced player before you can pull something like this off. But it is even artistic to look at. It's very nice. So I'm going to close it here, and next week we'll be doing something else, maybe even the science of music or the physics of music. I wanted to finish this first. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Please join me again.